All right, this is COM 346 Multimedia Communication. Welcome to the first of two lectures on web design. Today, we're going to start to talk about what makes web designs click. The bottom line is that it doesn't just happen, and there are principles or design elements that you can follow to make a web page that people want to visit and looks pleasant. At least you'll make something that won't immediately turn them away. The goal is to get people to look at our stuff. So let's talk about how to make that happen. So let's jump in and start to talk about some principles of web design that can help you achieve just that. All right, today we're going to focus on CRAP, C-R-A-P. CRAP is possibly my favorite acronym in all of academia. It covers the basic design principles that will help you build your page. And next week, we'll talk about typography and text and how selecting 2 to 3 different typefaces, which many of you might call a font right now, how selecting 2 to 3 different typefaces together can help you achieve your goals in web design. All right, as this slide says, CRAP, C-R-A-P, is an acronym that stands for 4 principles: contrast, repetition, alignment, and proximity. We will discuss each of these in more detail throughout this video. Also, throughout this video, there will be 5 separate tasks to complete on a worksheet. I'll ask you to pause the video and complete exercises on a worksheet, which you can find in Canvas under the Project 1 module. It's right underneath where you accessed this video lecture. I'll slow down when I ask you to complete a task so you can pause the video and then open the worksheet when you're ready to complete each task. I recommend you do each task as prompted in the video because that's the information you're getting right then and there. All right, let's move into the lecture. Our very first principle of CRAP is called contrast. Now, first things first, take a minute and just look at the slide. I'll be back in just a moment. Okay, you've had time to review the slide. You see our first principle is called contrast. Now, contrast is used to create tension or dissimilarity between 2 elements on a page. It's used to show opposition or maybe things that aren't related or build interest. It helps guide the eye and keep the attention on a specific area on our page. Now take a moment and reread this slide again to gain a deeper understanding of how contrast can be used. Seriously, reread the entire page. I'll give you 20 seconds. Okay, there are various ways that contrast can be achieved. As this slide says, you can achieve it through light versus dark. That's an example of how color can be used to achieve contrast. Large versus small in terms of text. Serif versus sans serif text, and we'll talk more about serif versus sans serif, but just know that serif has the little hooks on the end of the letters and sans serifs do not. For example, this entire block of text right here is sans serif. S-A-N, san means without serifs. You can also achieve contrast through organic versus geometric shapes, and there are many other ways to achieve contrast. So that brings us to worksheet number 1, or I should say that brings us to the worksheet and question number 1. So you should have 7 answers for this question. What type or types of contrast are being used in the images on this slide? Pause the video and take maybe 10 minutes to write about which types of contrast are being used in each image. For example, in image 2, are we contrasting shapes, typefaces, colors? How are we using contrast? Go ahead and pause the video and take 5 or 10 minutes to complete question 1 on your worksheet in Canvas. Our second design principle is repetition. This is the R in CRAP. So we all like consistency. It helps us know what to expect. Repetition brings consistency and familiarity to the user by using the exact same elements to bind information together. This can be achieved by using the same typeface, which is the font plus the size. Repetition can be achieved by using the same colors, shapes. Bullet points are a great example of repetition. Your margins are a great example of repetition. Any way you can group together similar pieces of information. In repetition, patterns help us identify things that are similar. Locating patterns helps us become more invested in the material we're reading, in the material that we're viewing. Let's look at this list of superheroes. Think to yourself over the next, let's say 30 seconds, about the various ways in which repetition is used to bind or group elements of this page together. Take 30 seconds and just look at the page and think to yourself. I'll be right back. Water break. Okay, maybe you've had enough time to start to build an idea of how repetition is used in this list. I'll go through several of the ways, and if I miss anything, by all means, email me. First things first, the typefaces are repeating. They're repeating in the titles of the films. The Avengers, Guardians of the Galaxy, and Fantastic Four are each in a different typeface than the characters or superheroes in each film. Also, the titles of the films are italicized and they are in red, whereas the superheroes are not italicized and they are in black. Next, the margins are repeating. Film titles stick out further to the left, and the names of the superheroes are indented. So the indentations themselves, there are 3 groups of indentations. That is a form of repetition. And there are 3 groups of titles, which are further left. That is a form of repetition. Also, each set of superheroes has a star next to the leader. So you see that Captain America, Star-Lord, and Mr. Fantastic all have a little yellow star next to them. That's a form of repetition. If there was a star next to one, a circle next to another, and a square next to Mr. Fantastic. So let's say Captain America has a star, Star-Lord has a circle and Mr. Fantastic has a square. Does that mean anything to us? Do we know that they're connected or tied together? Probably not. We would then need a key or a legend or something to explain what's going on. Okay, and there's one more example of repetition in this chart. The chart itself has repetition in the blue bars at the top and the bottom. We would know that anything that lies outside of this box is not related to this chart. So again, repetition can be achieved by repeating typeface, which is a font, size, and a weight. We'll get more into that next week. Repetition can be achieved by repeating color, shape, and alignment. Okay, this brings us to our second question on the worksheet. I'd like you to discuss 3 ways that Chevrolet.com uses repetition on their website. I have a couple of screenshots right here, but you really should go to Chevrolet.com, Chevrolet, and use just the home page. And the page might try to get you to purchase something. Don't do that unless you want to, but that might get expensive. The page might take you to another page, so just refresh the home page if it keeps changing on you. Take 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, take a look at the web page and make a list of various ways that Chevrolet uses repetition and only repetition on their home page. Pause the video now and go to the web page and open up the worksheet. Okay, the next principle we're looking at here in CRAP, C-R-A-P, is alignment. The principle of alignment states that every item on the page should have a visual connection with one or more items in the design, even if the connection is through an invisible line that you can't see. Just look at this slide itself. It's all aligned on the left. Flip to the next side where the title alignment remains on the left and the text is aligned to the right. Something just feels bad or disconnected about it. Here we go. So something just isn't right with the alignment here. The title alignment and the body of text below it just feel disconnected to each other. Or I should say disconnected from each other. So here are some examples of alignment used with text. And I just stated the obvious here and used the terms left justified text, right justified text, and center justified text to show examples of alignment. You could easily replace the words left, center, and right justified text with images or icons or anything else that were aligned to achieve the same effect. Here's another example of alignment being used to group similar things. Maybe movies, books, and music could be thought of as forms of entertainment. Chairs, tables, and rugs are something that go in a kitchen or a dining room, I should say. And softball, baseball, and track and field are different sports. They're aligned together. It shows that they are related. This brings us to question number 3 on your week 1 worksheet. Now take at least 10 minutes on this question and write thoroughly and thoughtfully. Today's lecture is short with the idea that you do take the extra time to work through these exercises, so please do it. I'll give you a moment to pause the video and then you can start answering these questions. So this is question number 3. Identify 2 locations on this web page, the one below, where alignment is used. We'll call it image 1. What type of alignment is each? How would you feel if this was left aligned? Where it says scratches out there, get defense, what if that was left aligned but stayed in the same spot on the web page? How would that feel? What would change about the look of the page? And now let's look at image 2. How would you feel if this was aligned differently? It's very much center justified. How does the alignment of this set of questions feel to you? And when I say this set of questions, I mean the question itself. Is it natural? Is it awkward? How would it feel if it was aligned to the left and flush with the left part of the web page for this VOOL web page? Head over to the worksheets, bounce back and forth between the images in the worksheets, and go ahead and complete this task. I'll give you a few moments to pause the video and then take at least 10 minutes and analyze the questions about image 1 and image 2. Our final principle of CRAP is proximity. The principle of proximity states that related information or items should be grouped together to indicate a relationship. And unrelated items should be separated. This helps provide structure to the information being presented, thus making it easier for the viewer to recognize relationships between elements and focus on related groups. So in proximity, elements that are associated with each other should be placed closely together or grouped together. Let's go back to this example of the list of superheroes. Here's an evolution of this list. So you see 3 lists of superheroes. From left to right, modifications have been made to the list to create more cohesion. The left list is the worst example of design, and the right list is the best example of design. In the left list, the superheroes are just all clumped together. Some contrast in the weight, which is the bold versus the non-bold typeface, has been made. And we move to the second list. We start to see a little differentiation. In the second list, you see superheroes grouped together by movie with a space between the last superhero and the next movie. That space provides proximity. Also, the lack of space between the characters also provides proximity. In the third list, which, as we said, is the best example of design, the superheroes are indented further than the movie titles. This is another visual cue using proximity that superheroes are different from the movie titles themselves. This is also an example of alignment. All right, we're on to question number 4 in your worksheet. And this one is about the principle of proximity. We have 2 business cards here. Joe's Graphic, located at 23 Lawn Hill Drive in Happyville, maybe that's New Brunswick. His number is 555-555-4444, joesgraphics.com. There are 2 different business cards that display all of this information. Talk about how each business card uses proximity or doesn't, and talk about which card is more appealing to you and why. Now go ahead and pause the video and complete this exercise. We are on to our 5th and final question. Apologies if I said 4 questions earlier. There are 5 questions on this worksheet. Take a look at these 2 business cards. They are from a private detective named Sherlock Holmes. So how are the 4 CRAP principles used in the design of this business card? Talk about all 4 principles: contrast, repetition, alignment, and proximity. Which of these designs do you prefer and why? Use CRAP examples to explain. Complete this exercise on worksheet number 1, and that is today's lecture. We'll see you next Tuesday for a lecture on typography and text. Good luck completing these. Make sure to meet the deadlines as listed in Canvas. And as always, reach out with any questions. My email is creich@western.edu.